First of all, my name's RK. I help young creatives monetize their craft in a fulfilling way. If that's something that you're interested in, it's the first link down below. Being creative was quite hard until I learned these 4 concepts. We're going to be starting off with the first one. You need to know what impact your creative work has to have a sense of direction and purpose in your work. When you do find out the impact that you're making with your creative work, it gives you a new sense of drive and value to doing this. Harsh truth, if you provide no value to this world through the work that you're doing, no one is going to care about what you're doing other than your family and sometimes your friends. Now, that's conditional as well. So in order to not fall into this trap, a concept that you need to understand that's going to help you in your creative process is what are the type of people that you want to help with your creative work. So how you find this is that if I gave you everything that you ever wanted, I gave you all the money, I gave you the life that you wanted, who are the people that you would help out of the goodness of your heart if you had the rest of your life just to yourself? Who would you help with your money? Who would you help with the resources? Who would you help with the creative work? Whether you have this type of person wrote down, make sure it's very specific. The demographic, their goals, their pains, their frustrations. If you want a template on how to do this, click on the link below. There'll be a template that'll help you out. So now that we have this persona written down, we need to brainstorm what are ways that we can help this persona that we have with the pain points that they have and reach the desires that you wrote down through your creative work. This might not seem like something very important, but now that you know your impact, it will give you a sense of purpose and a sense of I'm actually doing something with my creative work to help people. It's great to sit down and make for yourself as a form of self-expression, as a form of therapy. But when you sit down knowing that your work is going to help someone improve their life or get better, that is when you have more conviction and more pride and more sense of purpose in your work. A thing to remind you about this, the more niche, the better. Just focus on helping one person to start off with. This person could even just be your younger self. Personality types are a thing for a reason because most people are the same at the end of the day. They have different overlaps in their characters and the way that they act. So instead of trying to create for the masses and not pleasing one person, please one person first and you'll end up finding people that are like you or like that target audience that do resonate with your creative work. But here's a little hack if you can't think of someone and you are trying to just create for yourself. Make the target demographic your past self and just target all the problems that you used to have because you know you more than anyone else. All the pain points, all the frustrations that you had when you were younger and you're starting this creative journey. How can you right now help your younger self with the creative process? If you could take a time machine and go back in time, what kind of content, what kind of creative work would you want your younger self to consume so that they can be more educated, make better decisions, and improve their lives for the better? Example is where I did this. Most people don't know this, but I run a clothing brand that's Indian-based, representing the Indian diaspora in the Melbourne-based streetwear scene. And it started off nothing to do with this. It started off as a sustainable, feel-good, community-building clothing brand. Like, lots of people have done that before. And it's not anything unique and not anything special. But our motto at the time was helping build a community one garment at a time. And that's where the whole name came from, Pasam, right? Pasam in my language means caring and affection. But then I had a conversation with my family friend and he said to me, everyone is right now trying to create a brand to empower people and for sustainability and for community building. What's unique about you? Who are you helping with your brand? And that's why I realized that I do have this very unique perspective of being someone from the Indian diaspora who has immigrated from a young age and grown up in this society where people like me are quite underrepresented in the clothes that we wear. I've been using this my whole life to relate to people and make friends that are like me. I've never thought about doing this with my creative work, which is something that I felt like was quite isolated from every other part of my life. And I understand that I could have more of impact because I know more about it. And it's something that I've grown up with if I do choose to help people that are like me. So that's why my brand right now is fully focused on helping represent the Indian diaspora. And I myself am more proud of the designs and the work that we're doing now that's going to come out because it represents me more and it's the change that I want to see in the world. It's like that Boondocks quote. If you don't know what to do, just do what you can. And that's what I'm trying to do with this. The second thing that really helped me with my creative work that I needed to understand before, that was quite a block for me, is that I need to increase my message before trying to increase the quality or the equipment that I use. What Virgil says is you need to focus on the container more than the quality. So he picked up a trash can and he showed the trash can on video call at this one interview, and he was like, this trash can, if it's sitting on the street or it's sitting in my bedroom, people are just gonna not even look at it twice. They're just gonna be like, oh, it's a trash can, and then keep going. Most of the time people don't even pay attention to it. But if the trash can was a centerpiece in a fine art gallery, it would be a major talking point and it would have more eyes on it. And people would be like, why is this here? What does it mean? I'm not saying that you need to produce trash work I'm not saying that your work is trash. I'm not saying that your work is trash, but I'm just saying that you need to work on the value that you have in encapsulating the message around the work that you're doing. This leads back into the last point that I made. And increase the message. It's cliche, but one man's trash is another man's treasure. And your work is always going to be trash to someone. Like, someone is always going to look at your art and be like, yeah, it's not good enough. Or someone's going to look at your creative work and be like, yeah, it's not great. I don't really vibe with it. But the people who say that, they're not going to even look twice at your work and give you a chance if the message that you have is not strong. And maybe it is something that they really like, they just haven't been open to it. And when your message is strong, the people who do see what you're doing, they really resonate with your work. You've drawn a line in the sand, and the people on your side of the line are going to get closer to you. What this all boils down to is increase the message, the value of your message first. It's very ambiguous, but a practical example, there's a short film called This Is John. And there's a guy who's trying to record a voice memo, but he's like really struggling. And towards the end of the short film, he has a breakdown because he has a lot of anxiety and self-doubt that requires him to keep pressing the re-record on his answering machine. And that's a feeling that most of us can relate to. And although this film was shot on an absolute potato of a camera in one location with no budget, one actor only, the message surrounding this film was one that most people can resonate with. That film really shows the absurdity of having self-doubt and self-anxiety, because people, looking from an outsider perspective, people don't really care at the end of the day as long as you're being authentic and you're being your true self. Like, no one is judging you to that level on a day-to-day basis. It was a very strong message from something that's very, very frugal. So it's not always about the fancy equipment, having the right camera, having the right mic. Sometimes it's just about making things that actually mean something to you and provide a message and value for what you're creating. The third thing that really helped me from being stuck as a creative is you need to understand that there's a difference between creating as a hobby and being an actual creative. When you're going to be a creative as something that you want to do with your life, there are times where you need to sit down, whether or not you have inspiration, you have insight, and just create for the sake of creating. You can't wait for inspiration, you can't wait for creativity. Sometimes you're just going to have to sit down and you're just going to have to push through. And there's other things that you need to do, such as marketing your work. And this is what I'm talking about. When you put a lot of effort into making something and you've put emotions into it, don't just show it to one or two people. Don't just put it in your bio. Don't just put out one story about it. You need to market it. And especially for me, starting out, marketing seemed very fake. It seemed quite cringe and inauthentic because I don't want to be making TikToks or YouTube shorts to promote my content. I felt like it takes away and downgrades the art that I've made. Something that Tyler Creator does very well is he builds a world around his music in a way that's authentic to him. His clothes, his short films, and the way he acts and changes his styles, all are forms of his way of marketing the music that he's creating. Market in a way that feels right to you. Do it out of the fact that you're proud of your work. World building is so powerful, and it shows your strength as a creative because it shows that you care about your work and you're going to go above and beyond to really hone in on the message and story of your creative work. It also allows you to take more ownership and make the work that you're doing more personal to you. So an example of this would be, say you're a painter, world building would be making prints of your pieces. I know people who make tote bags. I know people who make fridge magnets of their artworks. A fun way to think about it is treat your work, your creative project that you've just made, kind of like the Eiffel Tower or like this new exhibit in France that's come in, and the world building that you're doing is the posters that you put around the city for this new exhibit, the miniature souvenirs in the gift shop, all the fun candid photos that people take. No one made TikToks of the Mona Lisa, right? But they did build a world around it in terms of where it was placed, how it was put into pop culture, all these kind of things, and whatever that means to you. So for me, this could be making educational videos like this. I'm not doing it for the sake of promoting my brand, but it's inadvertently promoting my brand because it's telling you that this is something that I'm doing, raising awareness, right? And then it could be making posters, it could be making short films for my brand, for my latest drop, things like that. Whatever's authentic to you. If you want to be a creative, you need to market your work. Market in a way that's authentic to you by building a world around your creative work that you're proud of. If you don't feel a sense of ownership and you don't have a good time marketing your stuff, it's probably because you don't have conviction in your work and you're not following the first few steps because you're not providing the actual value that's required for you to feel a sense of purpose and ownership over your work. Finally, something that I'm going to say is quite controversial is meaningful people's feedback matters no matter how harsh it is. When people hate on your work, maybe they don't know how to voice it in a mature way, but you also need to take it seriously and take into consideration that they might be right. Hold on now. If you have followed the first few steps and you've only targeted one person and you've drawn the line in your sand and you've found the people on your side of the line, improved your message, suck people into your world genuinely, you will make connections with people who are pushing you forward and you will make connections with people who do want you to grow. If those people have your best interests in heart and they give you advice about your creative work, maybe they are right. You could actually improve a lot because that's just knowing your target audience more and what they want. It's just feedback, and if it aligns to the goals that you have and it aligns to your target audience, all of it matters. I left this for last because this advice is kind of like quicksand, right? If you haven't done the first few steps, you're going to get sucked into just listening to haters and just putting yourself down. You're not catering for everyone. You're curating for one type of person. And if your target audience isn't the type of people that are giving feedback and they don't have your best interests in heart, you're not going to solve the right problems. So an example of this, say you're a chef, you're running a small street stall. The people who come to you really love your spicy food, and everyone comes to you for your spicy food every single day, and you have a bunch of very, very loyal customers that have become your friends over the years. Say one of them is telling you that one of the dishes that you've been making has gone down in quality and is one of his favorites, and it's really just putting him off from coming back to you. Of course, you're going to take a hit to your ego because he has criticized your work, but that is your target audience. He does have your best interests because he is someone that's been investing in you and your creative services. Taking that feedback can really help you grow. People like your family, people like your friends that have been helping you out, people that you're collaborating with, these are all people that you need to take the feedback from, even though they might be harsher sometimes. But say a foreigner comes to eat your food and they don't like your food because it's very spicy and they're not used to it. They leave a really, really bad review and they tell all the people who don't like spicy food, don't eat here back home. And because of this person, you change all your dishes and you make everything less spicy, you're going to lose your main audience who came to you for the thing that you love doing in the first place. You're only going to lose the people who came to you for when you were true to yourself and your craft. Your target audience does not have your best interest at heart. You need to understand that politely. If they don't like the things that you're creating, that's fine. They don't need to consume from you. If you draw the line in the sand, they're not on your side of the sand. They can find someone who does align with the people that are on the other side of the sand. And that's fine. You don't need to fight for their validation. You don't need to push the line back and forth because you're trying to fight for people that you don't really actually want to help at the end of the day. Being a creative was quite hard until I learned these 4 things. If you are an aspiring creative who does want to monetize their craft, I would love to have a conversation with you. First link down below. Thank you very much.